Hello, and welcome back to the Manifest Massively podcast. I'm your host, Nicole Renee Ray, and I am, of course, super excited to be sharing this episode with you. Now, if you remember from last week, this is an episode that was recorded several months back that I decided to go ahead and share, and it chronicles a little bit of my journey of seeing some of my relationships and friendships transition and change as I transitioned and changed and grew in my life. And it's something that I heard from coaches that I worked with that they dealt with. And as it was happening in my life, the more that I shared about it in certain circles, I realized this is not just something that Nicole Ray was going through. This is something that we go through in our lives. And when I found that I had recorded this episode, I thought, oh my gosh, this is a perfect one to share because I am sure that someone is going to hear it that is either gone through it, is going to go through it, or is going through it. So without further ado, here comes the episode about losing friends as you grow. And of course, I wanted to share a quick reminder that I do have a few spaces open for my one-on-one coaching programs. So if you have been curious about working with me, working with a coach, wanting to work on reprogramming your subconscious mind, focusing on really having your life just flourish on all levels, or you're working on creating a heart-centered soul-led business, I would love to explore the opportunity of working with you. And you are absolutely more than welcome to schedule a free discovery call where we will connect and discover whether or not we are a match to work together. So you will find the link to schedule in the show notes as well as on my website. And without further ado, here is the episode. Hello. Welcome to this episode. I'm so excited to talk about this. This has come up in several of my client sessions, and it's definitely come up in my life. So I would bet that you have dealt with this on one level or another, and that is losing friendships as you grow. And I don't even know where to begin. I guess I'll just share from my own experience. I know that when I got married and moved across the country, that significant life change really changed the structures of my friendships. Some of them I wasn't surprised. Some of them I was really surprised. But some of them I was surprised pleasantly because the people who stayed committed to our friendship, even though I was not in the same state anymore, and even though my quote unquote status had changed, there's good things that comes with that kind of change. But there's also a lot of grief that comes with that kind of change. And when we are trying to become, and when we are actually becoming who we want to be, and we're reaching our goals, and we're moving in the direction of those dreams, and we're finding misalignment with people from our past, that can bring up emotion. It definitely is a loss when that happens. I recently have been deep diving into Joe Dispenza's work. I signed up for his week-long advanced retreat. If you don't know who Joe Dispenza is, oh my gosh, he is just such one of the most, I don't know, I just think he's such a genius. The way that he describes how transformation and manifestation works on a quantum physics level, on a physiological level, he makes it make so much sense. And recently, I was listening to, there's a long pre-work module that you do before you go to the retreat. And he was talking about how people's lives fall apart when they go through transformation. Because when they really start changing their energetic frequency, other things vibrate away. And I know that Abraham Hicks talks about this too. if you're experiencing this, you're not alone. I know I'm not alone. This is part of growth. It's part of moving on in life. So that's why I wanted to talk about it today. What comes to mind is there's a book called Frientimacy, and I'm sorry that I don't know the author. I think I'm going to look up the author right now. But one of my really good friends brought this up to me, and one of the concepts, the core concepts, okay, it's by Shasta Nelson. That's the author, Frientimacy. So there's a core component of this book where she talks about how every good quality friendship needs three things. It needs positivity, vulnerability, and continuity. And if one of those things are missing, then it's going to feel off. And it's not to say that therefore the friendship isn't worth having. You'll just notice, as I'm about to outline, that it just imbalances the friendship. So for example, if you have continuity, you're consistently seeing somebody, and you have positivity, but you don't have any vulnerability, then that friendship's going to feel superficial because you're not really ever going to be sharing the deeper parts of you. If you have vulnerability and continuity, but there's never any positivity, then that friendship is going to feel like it weighs heavy, right? Because you're always in the deep dive, the harder parts, the more vulnerable parts, but you're never really in the more positive, light parts. So there's going to be an imbalance there. And then if you're really vulnerable and really positive, but there's no continuity and no consistency, then that's going to feel really off. That just reminds me of a friendship that was really hard to let go of, but I let go of last year. And that was really the issue. And this is why I bring up this book. And because sometimes it's nice to have a model where you can go, oh, yeah, that's why that was missing. That's why that didn't make sense. I think this also helps us not internalize it or internalize the shame or blame ourselves and just understand that these things happen. But it also gives us the opportunity to have a co-creative role in the process. If there's a relationship that we really want to invest in, that we really want to make sure is part of our lives, then we have those components that we can look at. Is there continuity? Is there positivity? Is there vulnerability? And so forth. So the friendship last year, it was missing continuity. Like, we would get together and she would be so vulnerable and I felt so close to her, and it would also be so positive and there was so much love, but the continuity would just miss. And obviously we were both really busy, but there were some very specific things that occurred that really showed me and demonstrated to me that this wasn't a priority. And it's interesting to me because it was when I consciously let that relationship go, all of a sudden, I started meeting the most amazing women and creating some of the most amazing relationships. And I really feel like there was something to my willingness to say, no, I'm not going to tolerate that anymore. I release you with love. I understand that this works for you, right? Like, how that relationship, how she was being in the relationship, that worked for her. That's how she did a relationship. Totally no problem. This isn't about blame. It's not about make wrong. It's just for what I was wanting to line up with. It didn't line up with me. And shortly after that, within 90 days, I just found myself connecting with women that were so much more aligned. And yeah, so I share that with you because sometimes when we do the scary thing and we take the action that doesn't necessarily feel good, we can definitely demonstrate to the universe, demonstrate to our subconscious, our superconscious, hey, this is what we're aligned with, this is what we're not aligned with. And then the things that we are aligned with show up even more. And then even more recently, there was a friendship that I was really trying to hold on to because it was a long-time friendship. It's somebody that I've known for a really long time. And I think, of course, it's worthwhile trying to hold on to those relationships. But There was a lot more negativity that was playing out and going on than I felt comfortable with. And I was even sharing some of this stuff with some of my other friends, and they were just like, "Why are you putting up with this?" And I had to really look at myself and go, "Gosh, yeah, I'm really putting up with this because I'm trying to hold on to the length of time, not necessarily the quality of friendship." And then I just received this really long, nasty text from this person, and it was full of blame and full of negativity, and there was no common ground. And that just really showed me, like, okay, like, how much more of this are you going to put up with? And anyway, I just share that with you because I have no doubt you've gone through this before. I had a client that I've been working with for about a year, and he was saying early on in like the first few sessions that we worked together that his friendship circles were changing. And now, a year later, it's like a complete transformation. There's a lot more peace with those relationships that have fallen away. And I think that's the thing is sometimes things are naturally falling away, things are naturally shifting, they're naturally changing. And it's us that holds on, right? Because we want that familiarity. We want that. Our brain wants that familiarity. And even just to bring up Joe Dispenza's work again, because he goes as far as to say, hey, we get addicted to our emotions. And then we use the people, the circumstances, and relationships in our life to reaffirm those emotions and to essentially reaffirm the addiction to those emotions. Drama can be addictive. Adrenaline can be addictive. So when we get together and we're like gossiping and right, there is an addictive quality to that. So sometimes we're trying to hold on to that aspect of things. And even though it's not healthy, it's familiar. But part of growth, spiritual growth, personal growth, and even part of manifesting, if we're going to manifest and create an amazing high quality community and amazing friendships and relationships that are healthy, that are honest, that are true, then we need to show up differently. We need to grow, and we need to grow our emotional intelligence and grow in our ability to communicate and grow in our ability to show up in those spaces and in those relationships. And yeah, then the ones that we're operating in that are not from that higher place, those are going to fall away. And we can kick and scream as they fall away, or we can just sit grounded and be at peace and trust in that letting go, trust in that process, even through the pain, even through the grief. So that is what I have to share with you today about friendships, about letting go. I would love to hear from you. Have you experienced this? Have you grown or experienced a significant change in your life and then seen your friendship circles or your relationships shift because of that? How did you deal with it? So lovely. I will see you in the next one.